Breaker 19, this here's the voice of Patriots everywhere. Little ferret man, what's your 20? And what are you gonna do now that nobody wants your little great reset? But especially not these guys. Keep the bugs off your bumper and the ferrets off your tail and hammer down to Ottawa town, cause mercy sakes alive, we got ourselves a Canadian convoy. Good evening, folks. I'm Michael Matt, and this is the Remnant Underground. Got a bit of an abridged show tonight because, quite honestly, I am so excited about what's going on north of the border right now, aren't you?
Great.
It's really something, and I want to get a word out in support of our brothers and sisters up in Canada who, this weekend, apparently we're all waiting for when they're going to come in and land in the capital there in Ottawa. I don't know. But they're making what I think a lot of people are beginning to suspect may perhaps be the strongest, the largest demonstration of resistance against the insane lockdowns to date. Let's just take a look at what's going on here. It's a fun clip. Check this out. I mean, it's so simple. This is what's interesting about the idea. It's just so simple. Get the trucks rolling down the highway. What are they going to do about it? Tens of thousands of truckers. I just love the simplicity and, of course, the patriotic, the romance of it. It's fantastic. Truckers descending on the capital city of Ottawa, and according to reports this weekend, they're not going to leave. They are not going to leave until the little ferret man gets over himself and frees the people of Canada from this globalist tyranny. Fascinating to watch. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. More on that in just a minute. First, I want to put some context to this, because this is not an isolated incident. There is a growing fatigue factor all across the world, and it's very important that we watch, monitor, and encourage that. Last week I told you that the UK PM, Boris Johnson, is lifting all restrictions in the UK, including the vaccine passport requirements. I'm going to talk about it in a minute. If they start dropping the vaccine passports, this is the whole papers, please. If they lose that part of this thing, they're done, because that's what this is all about. Of course, climate change and everything else coming, you're going to have to show some proof that your footprint is smaller, that you have the right drugs that they want, that you have the right banking that they want. Everything's going on. You got to show that little digital thing to prove it. So if it starts falling apart, and that's what happened in the UK, it's interesting to see how they're going to try to enforce this elsewhere if half the world isn't doing it and isn't buying any of it. That's what's fun. And this week now, it happened once again in Denmark, much smaller country, but nevertheless, there seems to be a domino effect. Here's the Prime Minister of Denmark.
Fra den 1. februar om ganske få dage, så vil Danmark igen være åbent. Helt åbent. Vi er klar til at træde ud af coronaens skygge. Vi siger farvel til restriktionerne.
Now, let me be really clear about this. It doesn't matter. I don't care what the politics of this woman is. Do you know who the Prime Minister of Denmark is? I surely don't. I'm not vouching for her Christianity or her politics or anything. I don't care what that is. The point is, and if they want to come out also and claim that their vaccination status is high enough where now we can go back to the old normal, I don't care. I actually don't care what they say. We've got to keep our eye on the ball here. And victory for us, victory for our children, victory for our country, victory for patriots is when a given country goes back to the old normal. That's how we know they're losing. That's how we know they couldn't pull this off. They could not get their new normal implemented. And that is happening right now. And remember, COVID was the catalyst, by their own admission, again and again, the lunatics of Davos, Prince Charles, Klaus Schwab, all these people, what do they say? COVID is our opportunity. COVID is the catalyst for a new world, right? They're going to use this thing to change the world forever. A new political order, a great reset, whatever you want to call the crazy. They were going to use COVID to do this, and it doesn't seem to be working, especially as some certain shots seem to be malfunctioning all over the world at the moment. Now, once the vaccine passport, once it's been ditched in one country, the whole thing falls apart. Because it's globalism that matters. I know there's nobody in this audience who is still naive enough to think that any of this ever had anything to do with your health. Come on. I mean, you don't think that. Nobody thinks that. That's obvious now. This is tyranny. This is a takeover. This is a global push. This is a global coup. That's what it is. So again, I don't care about the face-saving statements made by this or that politician from this or that country as they drop these mandates. I don't care. I'll let them save face if they want to, because I'm looking at a much bigger picture here. You want to play that game? Go right ahead. The point is, the new normal is crashing, if you will, on the rocks of patriotism, patriotic resistance. And the other thing that we can do, people say, well, I know such and so, I know Trump he's a secret Davos guy, I know this and that. Boris Johnson just wants us to believe that he's actually one of them, they're fooling us. All right, I can play that game a little bit, but you can only take it so far. And after a while, you kind of look at the personalities involved, and you use your fingerspitzen, as the Germans say. You use your common sense, your ability to read personalities. So you look at a guy like Trump, for example. Quite honestly, that Donald does not have the personality to be a stooge of Davos. I think we all are well aware of that. Now I get his emails every day. Whew, holy cow. I mean, his promotional emails, you know. Donald's a lot about Donald, and he's a promoter and he's a pusher, and we'll see what he does. But the point is, I don't think that Donald Trump has any desire to be on Team Davos. Never has. I don't think there's a room big enough in the world to house both Klaus Schwab's ego and Donald Trump's ego. Not going to happen. Boom. You know? So that's just using our common sense to look at this stuff. And then you add the history thing. That's why Trump, he went to Davos, right? People say, did you know he was at Davos giving speeches too? Well, everybody was. The point is, when Trump went to Davos to give a speech, you'll remember, he mocked the living daylights out of them, bragging about U.S. supremacism and patriotism over globalism. Just a few minutes for old time's sake, here's what he said.
We're committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty of our world. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country.
Now that's why Donald Trump is no longer in the White House. He didn't cooperate. You don't say those things about how awesome America is when they're trying to do in nationalism and borders right now all over the world for their new global experiment. You see? They never forgave Donald Trump for what he did. That's why they got rid of him. And of course, yes, I know Donald Trump is the one who warp-speeded the vaccine protocol and all of that. Thanks to the media and thanks to the scientists like Tony from the land of baloney, right? Now, you could say, why did Trump do that? Good question. I think it was politics. I think it was media. It was re-election. If he didn't do something with the vaccine, what were they going to do? They were going to make sure he never had a second term. As it turned out, they did it anyway. But as long as Trump, here's the only thing that matters. None of that matters. Ancient history. As long as Trump, for our conversation tonight, as long as Trump or any of these other politicians, as long as they said that you would never be forced to get the jab, then they were separating themselves from the whole globalist reset experiment. You see what I mean? If Trump was to use the jab as a way of getting, knocking that metric down and getting to the point where we go back to the old normal, we can still disagree with him all day long about using these vaccines to begin with, but it's not the same thing as what they've wanted all along on a globalist level, which is for everyone to carry one of these passports around to prove that you're doing everything right and that you're digitally being monitored, you see? If you're not required to get a vax, it's a different story because they want everybody jabbed. Old Joe Biden said that just a few days ago, in fact, that the whole world must be vaccinated.
One of the things that I want to do, and we're contemplating figuring out how to do, we are contemplating how to get done, and that is, how do we move in a direction where the world itself is vaccinated?
And this is really important, and we're going to go back and talk about, again, this is the context for why what's happening in Canada right now is such a massive demonstration. Because the globalist super surveillance state loses if any country backs out. If these truckers are successful, if the little ferret is overpowered by this show of absolute resistance to what he's doing, that's big trouble, not only for Justin, but for Davos, for the UN, for the whole experiment. And right now, Boris Johnson is showing what happened. He's backing out. Now, the media is kind of covering that up, which is interesting. It's such a huge story, but you hardly see it anywhere, that the UK has dropped everything. Mask mandates, vax mandates, and of course, the requirement to carry proof of vaccination. Now, why is he doing this? Let's ask that question. Why is Boris Johnson, is he turning on the lunatics of Davos on ideological grounds? Is he using his massive brain on some? Of course not. Look at his personality. Talking about Boris Crazy-Haired Johnson here. And the reality is, as anyone who has a modicum of experience or common sense, been around the block a couple times, the reality is quite easy to see what happened in the UK. Boris Johnson was having himself a frat party pretty much every night. He was having way too much fun to go down with the lunatics of Davos. So he's running around without his mask, even though he's mandating masks like a crazy Adolf Hitler, you see? He's running around personally like so many of them were doing because he actually doesn't believe in the thing. He's running around without his mask, party after party, gets caught way too many times, and what do you know? The media decide they're going to come after his head. They're going to take him down politically. And so what does he say? Forget Davos. My career is more important to me. Drop the masks, drop the mandates for the vaxxers too, and drop the digital health pass. What's he doing? He's selling out because he wants to preserve self-preservation. He wants to preserve his own political career. It's called human nature. And this is a good thing for us because we're not trying to vouch for his personality or suggest that he's a daily communicator. I think he's actually an apostate Catholic, isn't he? Boris. So again, we're not endorsing Boris. Got to make that point because there's a lot of folks in comm boxes that like to come in and tick off all the stupid things we said because we don't know the full story about how evil this or that politician is. It doesn't matter. This is what we've been waiting for. Political careerism to start trumping the great reset cray-cray, the crazy talk, because it's insane, as we've been saying for 2 years. This is insane. It will wreck the political careers and aspirations of normal people if they allow it. So you got to be a real Justin Trudeau to let them ruin your careers, which is what he's doing up there in Canada. But now even liberal politicians are feeling pressure of a different sort, like Boris. They're not feeling the pressure from Davos. They don't care as much about Brussels. They don't care about the United Nations, but they do care about what's happening at home. Enter 50,000 18-wheelers up in Canada. That may make a difference even for the little ferret. Because people do notice when you have a patriotic groundswell of that magnitude, a groundswell of resistance, which is breaking the media stranglehold of fear right now, not just in Canada, friends, not just in Canada, but all over the world. People are looking at these truckers with tears in their eyes. They're going, oh my gosh, they're not afraid. They're not quivering and shaking in their boots about getting COVID like they should be. They're like, enough is enough. You see how important this is? How contagious this is? And at the same time, you see it in mainstream cultural venues and outlets, cultural influences that we've been talking about for a long time. They're looking at these guys in Davos and the UN and Joe Biden, these crazy people, and they're saying, no, sorry, pal. Get over yourselves, knock it off, count us out. We're not going along with this. That's what we're looking at, friends. Now, this isn't the spiritual solution. This isn't the solution that relies on prayer and the bigger things in life. What we're talking about tonight is human nature, the power of the human spirit. And that's a powerful thing when you're dealing with people that don't even believe in humanity. They don't believe in the sexes. They want to make you half computer, transhumanist lunatics. They have no appreciation for the things of the heart, for emotion, for family, for patriotism. They don't appreciate it, which means they underestimate it, and that's where we are right now. That's how the wheels of this crazy eventually come off, when the human spirit rises up and screams at them to stop. And that's what somebody like Elon Musk is doing. I don't know what Musk's politics are. I guess he homeschools his kids. He's from South Africa. He's got an interesting... I'm not saying he's a daily communicator, but it is interesting to see what somebody like that is saying right now and what a threat he poses to the little nerds like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab. You see? Elon Musk is out there right now comparing this whole globalist takeover to what? I'll have Walter throw it up on the screen. To the Ring, to the Lord of the Rings, to Tolkien's masterpiece. You see that on your screen? Guess where that comes from? Not from the Remnant. That comes from Elon Musk. Isn't it fun? And you know what that represents? That represents a victory for us, a victory for freedom. It's not working. It's not convincing powerful mainstream, maybe even non-Christian personalities. Lots of people are no longer convinced. They're no longer buying this. They're no longer drinking the Kool-Aid. And I don't care how confused or disoriented they might be, these messengers from the other side of the aisle. I don't care, because the left fear them. And it's probably even better on some level, because we're having a talk about human nature and the human strategy, the practical strategies tonight. It's probably better that these influential people, they're not traditionalists, you know? It's not one of us blowing the whistle again. It's people on their side. And you know what? If you scare people enough, they will demand removal of freedom. This is the path of tyranny. Isn't that beautiful what I just said? I came up with that. Wait a minute. No, I didn't. I didn't come up with it. That's not Michael Matt. That's Elon Musk. Read it again. He's had enough. He tweeted that out just last night. I'm not trying to be a character reference for Elon Musk. I'm trying to show you why resistance is not futile. I've been saying it for a long time, trying to prove why it's not. Because this insane satanic agenda is not fooling anybody anymore. Well, I'm sure it's fooling some, but there are some powerful people who are no longer falling for it, and that's victory for us. So let's just start adding this up before I'm going to show you some absolutely powerful video and images of what our friends up in Canada are doing right now. Make your night, in fact, by showing that video. But before we get there, let's just start adding up what's going on. So you can see this is not wishful thinking. This is not pie in the sky. This is the reality. Things are not going their way. So we talked months ago about Bill Maher, the Bill Maher effect on American TV, telling them to cut the COVID crap, as he said. And we did a video on that, remember? That video has garnered 1 million views right now. And it helps to make our case. The left as well as the right have had enough. You got this guy, Joe Rogan. I've never seen Joe Rogan's podcast. I've never seen it. I have no idea what he's all about. All I know is that he's fed up and he's done with what's going on. And in that case, the enemy of my enemy is my friend in that case. You got Rogan surpassing CNN, the insufferable CNN in terms of audience and influence, exposing them for the frauds that they are, and their doctors and their scientists, telling us to stay afraid. Rogan's like, whatever, we're done. And this poor character, Neil Young, who I guess is no longer rocking in the real world, he's out there. He found out the hard way what happens when you try to give Spotify an ultimatum to get rid of Joe Rogan, or else, and then guess what happens to Neil? Neil gets sent his way, and we don't need him around anyhow anymore. Neil's gone. Shows you kind of what happens, what's going on, where the winds are blowing. Even Neil Young is not big enough to stop the patriotic pushback that's going on right now. And of course, again, with a guy like Musk, you got the richest guy in the world. And when he's not planning his next trip to Mars, he's out there challenging the UN to put up or shut up, as you'll see on the screen. These are the last 3 tweets that Musk put up before we shot this show. Okay? Next one, he's cheering on the Canadian truck drivers. Next one, he's going all retro to stick it to the big brother by praising CB radios, which are free from government and media control. Do you see what's going on here? You got prominent politicians promising to investigate Tony this year, Tony from the land of baloney, in November, just as soon as the American people put his party back in power. We showed you that last week. It's about 10 months from now. We got 10 months to keep this train going, keep this convoy going. You got poor old pathetic Joey Biden rambling on and on about build back better, even though the man can't string 2 sentences together without massive doses of Adderall. And even then, after he's good and juiced up, we still get the hilarious syntax errors, such as...
Last week, President Harris and I stood in the United States Capitol.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Vice President, and do call us when the shuttle lands. You see, no wonder We got countries now, entire countries that are giving up on the Great Reset when the guy from the USA who was so key to all this that he spent his basement campaigning, not at all, in order to replace the guy who was a threat to all of this. Obviously, what happens here is huge to the lunatics of Davos. And when he's as mad as a monkey on a trike, it isn't going to work. Doesn't look good for Team Davos. And as we pointed out last time, even poor, pathetic fellows like Bill Gates are kind of going, I guess maybe we should pull it back a little bit. That's right, Bill. And guess what? The Great Reset is running out of gas, which means it's running out of time, which brings us back to our friends in Canada. You know what's going on up there? I know what's going on up there. You know what's going on up there? The little ferret, the goat, cool hair. He's got nothing to lose. He has no popular support to lose. All he's got are his cool friends over in Davos, pulling his little strings and winding him up and sending him off into Canada to preach their gospel. So he lives or dies with them. And guess what that makes our little friend, Justin Trudeau, makes him the perfect little angry, violent, dangerous tyrant. He doesn't care about his people. He's made that clear. He cares about himself and his very, very important assignment, the thing that gives him worth in this life or merit, the thing that makes him what he is. And that assignment is simple. Your job, Justin, is to help us, the lunatics of Davos, reset the whole world. And that's what Justin is doing. Now, if you don't believe me, maybe you'll believe Justin himself. Here's the little ferret and his own little squeaks.
To eliminate this virus anywhere, we need to eliminate it everywhere. This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset. This is our chance to accelerate our pre-pandemic efforts to reimagine economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. Building back better means getting support to the most vulnerable while maintaining our momentum on reaching the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development and the SDGs.
I know what you're thinking. That's exactly what I would think. Well, he's just parroting somebody else. He's the ventriloquist dummy. Isn't that what you're thinking? Of course it is. And the question is then, who is the ventriloquist? And I think you know exactly who the ventriloquist is for the little parrot. But just in case you're unsure, here he is.
But what we are very proud of now, the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are for our actually young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. It's true in Argentina, and it's true in France now. I'm here with the president, who is a young global leader.
You getting it? You starting to see what's going on here? What's really going on here? I mean, they're admitting it. They've been admitting it all along. It's sheer obstinacy on your part if you're denying that this is the reality of what we're facing, that this is what it's all about. COVID's been all about from the start. That was Klaus Schwab at Harvard back in 2017, but he's been at it for years. This is the moment he's been waiting for, COVID. COVID is their opportunity of a lifetime. And if the COVID narrative falls apart, so does their Great Reset. And that's what we have to push for. It may be falling apart right now. Why? Because these maniacal lunatics underestimated one thing. They underestimated us. They underestimated the power of patriotism. They underestimated the power of God and a godly, Christian, God-fearing people. They have no concept of the power of a people like that. And now, they may have underestimated Catholic priests, because Catholic priests, who, let's face it, have gone quite silent on these things over the past 10, 15, 20, 50 years, since Vatican II anyway. Catholic priests have been pretty useless in waking people up to what's really going on. Not all of them, but most of them. Well, it seems like the lunatics of Davos might even be waking up Catholic priests now. Here's an example.
Hi, I'm Father Anthony Hannon, and this is The Preparer's Way. I am a Catholic priest, and I'd like to offer my support to all the truckers and all those involved in the convoys on the way to the capital city of Canada, my beloved Ottawa.
The bottom line is this. You're looking at truckers, priests, politicians, whoever. All of us, regular people, patriots, moms and dads, the bottom line is that we should all be freaking out over COVID right now. The numbers are high, the scary Omicron, variants are coming in fast and furious. We should be terrified, right? We should be worried for our lives. And yet, we're not. Even though the media have been terrorizing us every night for 2 years. Think about that. You're not afraid anymore, are you? You can only be afraid for so long. They're losing their stranglehold on us at a time when we should be cheering on, the Gates Foundation or Pfizer or Davos for coming up with these wonderful medical solutions and political solutions to everything so we can all live happily ever. We should be praising them, thanking them for saving us, right? Instead, what are we doing? Are we cheering them on? We're asking them to leave us alone. We're not cheering them on. We're sick and tired of them. And instead, this weekend, we're cheering on, 50,000 blue-collar, truck-driving warriors up in Canada who are telling all the lunatics of Davos to go to hell. They never saw this convoy coming, the one in Canada and the other one all around the world. A convoy of patriots, a convoy of Christian people. Canada, there are hundreds of miles of 18-wheelers representing all of us. 18-wheelers driven by regular guys who have had enough of this. So what are we going to do? I'll tell you one thing we're going to do this weekend right now, tonight, we're going to pray for those guys. Get down on your knees before you go to sleep tonight and pray for those guys. And we here at Remnant TV, we stand 100% with them. We send them the message if by some way, a couple of them could hear us tonight, over the weekend. We love you guys. And we're begging God to bless and protect you. You are the freedom fighters of Canada. And like those little children all across Canada who are thanking you tonight, we add our voices to theirs.
Thank you, truckers.
Hi, my name is Gabriel. I'm from Manitoba. I'm turning 13 years old tomorrow, and I just wanted to say best birthday gift ever, having you guys fighting for us. I am so glad for you truckers. You rock.
Hi, my name is Matthew. I'm 12 years old, and I'm from Alberta, and I just want to say you guys are awesome. Keep on trucking.
Good night, truckers. Thank you. To Santa Canada, truckers.
I got a little guy here that wants to say something to the truckers.
Yes, thank you, truckers. Hi, my name is Matt. I'm 6. Go truckers. Have a good night. God bless.
Hello, I'm Talia. I'm 10 years old. I come from Manitoba. I just wanted to thank you guys for what you did. I'm praying for you.
I love you guys.
Hi, my name is AJ, and I'm 8 years old, and I would just like to say thank you.
Thank you, truckers.
Thank you, truckers, for being our heroes. This is Shiana from Pincher Creek, Alberta. We love you.
I work at a daycare, and I have a 5-year-old son. You're doing more than giving us back our freedom. You're giving the children back their childhood, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Hi, my name is Clara from Drumheller, and have a nice drive. God bless you.
I don't know about you, but when I saw that for the first time, not easy to hold back the waterworks a little bit, because the Canadians have been suffering, and the children up there have been suffering, and nobody really on the global stage, nobody cares. But all of a sudden, the men came out. It's like Lepanto on 18 wheels, like the fleet of Lepanto on 18 wheels, coming out to save the kids, to save the families, to save the nation. God bless them, And in contrast, in stark and horrific contrast, 3 days from right now, Pope Francis, the Pope in Rome, what's he going to do? You know what he's going to do? He's going to mandate 2 Pfizer shots and a booster just to get inside the Vatican. He's setting the tone. He's trying to change the narrative. He's trying to use the Vatican's moral authority to force vaccinations. God knows why. Well, that's what he's doing over in the Vatican. Guess what? The beautiful thing is, and I'll close on this, all throughout the world, when Francis is overdoing this thing, he and his globalist buddies are doing these evil, sick things, there are no children like the ones that we just saw. There are no children of the world thanking Francis and his friends for doing that, for forcing vaccination on people, because they're not afraid anymore. There are no wives begging God to bless Francis for what he's doing to keep them safe. There are none. And this is why, friends, this is why we need to keep hope alive. This is why we need to keep fighting. We have so much more than they do. So many more weapons to win this war, the weapons they don't understand at all. This is why they will lose. It's because of us, because of faith, because of hope, because of family, because of patriotism, because of God, because of Canadian truckers and flag-waving, God-fearing patriots have had enough. And because of that, the lunatics of Davos will lose. Because you know what? Only hell supports them now. Only hell. And hell can have every last one of them. I'm Michael Matt for Remnant TV. To our Canadian brothers and sisters, let those truckers roll 10-4. God bless you all. And we'll see you next week.